Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to Who'd Win and Why. And this time we've got Shrek, the heroic ogre of DreamWorks, going up against Sully, the #1 scarer of Pixar. They're both certainly two of the scariest monsters of their respective worlds, but they also have what it takes to make it through dangerous situations. And today is time for me to decide who I think would win in a one-on-one battle to the end of the line. So, who'd win and why? Let's find out! Alright, so first we're going to talk about Shrek. Standing 7 feet tall and weighing roughly 600 pounds, Shrek was just your standard ogre who lived by himself in a swamp and was feared by everybody who crossed his path. This didn't bother Shrek too much though, as he was more than happy to just be left alone in his swamp and live his peaceful, undisturbed life. However, after Lord Maximus Farquaad of Duloc banished all of the fairy tale creatures of the land and dumped them in Shrek's swamp, Shrek was furious and made his way to Farquaad to get his home back alongside his new ally, Donkey. Farquaad told Shrek and Donkey that he would return things to normal if they rescued a woman from a tower that he wanted to make his bride, Princess Fiona of Far, Far Away. The two see the mission through, and while Shrek and Fiona may have gotten off on the wrong foot initially, they soon start to develop feelings for one another, though neither would admit it. Another secret that Fiona was keeping from Shrek was that she was cursed to transform into an ogre every night, and needed true love's kiss to break the curse. After a number of crazy mishaps, including crashing Fiona and Farquaad's wedding, Fiona turning into an ogre permanently after her true love kiss with Shrek, and Lord Farquaad getting eaten by a dragon, Shrek finally found happiness with Fiona, proving to him that he wasn't quite as unlovable as he thought he was. Shrek is just as strong as you'd expect from an ogre in a fairy tale world, or perhaps maybe even stronger. His displays of strength are numerous, ranging from knocking out armored knights in one punch to holding back an enormous dragon by grabbing its tail, stopping it dead in its tracks. He can also flip over an armed pirate cannon, push a fairly sized ship out from the docks and into the sea, and smash wood and metal, among other impressive feats. His physical durability also speaks volumes, as he's able to survive a ton of impact forces, including falling from over 100 feet in the air, withstanding hits from warrior Fiona in Shrek Forever After, and getting kicked hard in the nuts by Donkey, and yet he was still able to have children. On top of all of that, Shrek has shown that he's surprisingly agile and quick on his feet when in the middle of battle, dodging arrows, outrunning dragons, and jumping great distances with ease. And that combined with his incredible stamina can make him pretty hard to hit when he's at his best. Shrek may have some quite commendable physical attributes, but that in no way means he's stupid, and he's got more useful skills than you might expect. For starters, he's a formidable hand-to-hand combatant and doesn't just rely on his power in a fight. He uses what seems to be variants of wrestling moves to easily take out multiple knights one after the other, and he also knows how to quickly adapt to his environment to strengthen his chances of winning a battle. He's also a natural when it comes to stealth, climbing, and, you guessed it, roaring. And his roars are so loud and powerful that they silence nearly anyone and can put out the fire lit on torches. But what's perhaps his most impressive trait is his leadership and tactical ability, which has allowed him and all of his fairy tale allies to prevail during life-threatening and magical adventures time and time again, including rescuing Fiona from the fairy godmother and Prince Charming, and surviving Rumpelstiltskin's crazy alternate fairy tale world. Lastly, Shrek seems to possess some extraordinarily powerful gas, as both his burps and his farts are able to spread fire from matches, an amazing feat to be sure. While Shrek has proven that he's definitely more well-rounded of a combatant than one might think at first glance, he obviously still prefers to rely on his strength and durability when in a real fight, and speed and smarts aren't really his forte most of the time. Additionally, while Shrek can withstand a lot of impact forces, he doesn't seem to be quite as durable as far as piercing weapons are concerned, considering that an arrow was able to get through his hide without much force behind it. But even with his flaws, Shrek has still done quite a lot for a guy who never sought out much adventure for most of his life. With all of his strengths and skills, you can be sure that any fight Shrek's in won't be ogre until he says it's ogre. Alright, so now it's time to move over to Sully. Standing 7.5 feet tall and weighing nearly 800 pounds, James P. Sullivan is the son of famous scarer Bill Sullivan and was recognized as the best scarer that the scare floor at Monsters Incorporated had to offer. He consistently collected the most amount of energy for the city of Monstropolis by scaring human children and making them scream the most, which monsters did by entering doors in the monster world that would take them to the human world, essentially coming out through children's closets. This earned him the respect of many of the other monsters on the scare floor and all across town, including the CEO of Monsters Inc. himself, Henry J. Waternoose. Of course, it wasn't always smooth sailing for Sully, especially during his days at Monsters University, but after he started taking scaring more seriously and partnered with best friend Mike Wazowski, he was unstoppable. However, everything changed when a young human named Mary Gibbs, aka Boo, entered the monster world, and Sully and Mike tried to keep Boo a secret while also trying to find her door to return her home, both of which proved much harder than expected. Thankfully, they succeeded in bringing her back safe and secure, and in turn discovered that Waternoose was in cahoots with Randall Boggs in trying to kidnap Boo and not have her return home. Thankfully, both Randall and Waternoose got what they deserved, and Sully ended up with a new friend that he cares very much about, something not even he knew he needed until she came into his life. Sully is one of the biggest and strongest monsters of Monstropolis, generally speaking, and has pulled off many different feats that most monsters only wish they could do. Thanks to Mike making sure that he's working hard, Sully is in great shape and is able to lift tens of thousands of pounds with ease. Not only that, he's powerful enough to knock Randall out with one punch after he was pelted with a snow cone, smash against a cave so hard that a few small stalactites fell down, and rip off and throw the enormous Scream Extractor, meaning that while he's not one to start a fight, he definitely knows how to use his strength. When it comes to his toughness, Sully can get right back up after a tumble down a snowy hill in the Himalayas like it was nothing, withstand attacks from other monsters, and he survived getting pelted by stinging glow urchins when he was only 18, which are supposedly the most deadly things in their world. And while it did take a toll on his stamina, he was still able to recover quite quickly regardless. And while he's not known for having incredible speed, he is quite acrobatic in his own right, as he can perform quick flips in midair and can jump considerable heights. Alongside Sully's intimidating strength, endurance, and agility, he also possesses a few other traits that are handy to have for a battle. First up and most obviously are his sharp fangs and claws, which allow him to do even more damage on top of his great strength. While his claws haven't gotten too much action over the course of the movies, if they're anything like real bear claws, they should be sharp enough to puncture and grab hold of food sources like fish and even damage other bears. Definitely nothing to gloss over. Sully is also pretty resourceful and creative, considering he was able to make Boo's monster costume from the fabric of his chair and put together an entire sleigh. Not to mention he's fairly stealthy and calm under pressure, not letting fear or rage cloud his judgment. He's certainly not the smartest monster, but his quick thinking and sheer determination to do what's right are still admirable. And of course, Sully possesses a terrifying roar that can scare nearly anyone, human or monster, and is so scary in comparison to the other monsters that he's won top scarer of the month 11 times in a row. With a scare score of over 100,000, you better believe that he's the best of the best. Now, Sully may have grown up to be a hard-working and rather accomplished scarer, but other than a few skirmishes here and there, he doesn't have a whole lot of actual combat experience, nor has he had virtually any formal training. This also extends to his intelligence and how he uses it, and while he has come up with bright ideas, most of them don't have anything to do with complex combat strategies or tactics. But Sully has proven more than once that he will stop at nothing to achieve his goal when he sets his mind to it, whatever the cost may be. Confident, tenacious, tough, and intimidating, there are few monsters who could truly live up to the accomplishments of James P. Sullivan. Alright, so now that I've gone over both of these characters, it's finally time for me to say who I think would win this battle. And this fight is a really awesome fight to me, simply because we have two of the most iconic characters from DreamWorks and Disney Pixar, whose first movies came out at nearly the exact same time. And while neither of them are really known for fighting all the time, they've still shown that they can throw down if they're in the proper situation. However, after looking across all of the movies, I do personally believe that Shrek would be the winner of this fight. And if you think that Sully would win, that's great. That's totally fine. Let me know why down in the comments below. But first, here's my reasoning for why I think Shrek would win more often than not. Obviously, the best place to start with these characters is strength and durability. And while both look very strong and tough, which they are, one really outshines the other in these areas. This is especially true when it comes to strength, considering that Shrek should be capable of lifting over 220 tons to be able to stop that dragon by grabbing its tail. Yes, both Shrek and Sully can damage tough metals and have knocked out certain opponents in one punch, and Sully even broke the Scream Extractor apart and threw it, which could potentially weigh past 1 ton. In fact, according to one of Sully's scare cards, he should be able to lift around 5 tons with little effort. But even if that's only 5% of his maximum strength, Shrek's dragon feet alone puts him at a level that Sully would have a lot of trouble competing with blow for blow. Plus, Sully wasn't even able to push back against Water Noose when he pushed him and Mike through the door to the Himalayas, and Mike was able to tackle him over almost immediately afterwards. I have a feeling that pulling back against a dragon requires a lot more force than withstanding Mike or Water Noose. And while their durability levels are a little bit closer, Shrek still edges out as he was able to take multiple hits from Fiona in Shrek 4, who is at very least almost as strong as he is. Sully may be able to survive a few intense falls and such, but he's got nothing to prove that he'd be able to stand up to someone that strong. Speed is a category that these characters definitely aren't as capable in, but regardless, Shrek still has the prominent edge. They've actually both shown off impressive displays of agility for monsters of their size, but when it comes to how fast each of them are, it's a different story. Using scaling methods to analyze Shrek running throughout the movies, Shrek is definitely capable of running at speeds of nearly 40 miles per hour, and Sully doesn't really have any on-screen examples to prove that he can match that speed, and the same goes for general reflexes. Shrek's superiority in these areas, combined with his strength and endurance, would surely overwhelm Sully over time, and this isn't even including his intelligence and skills. Shrek may not be the most intelligent character out there, but he still seems to be more of a competent strategist and was even skilled enough to beat multiple armored knights one after the other without breaking a sweat. Sure, this can be somewhat chalked up to his strength, but his experience dealing with more magical enemies like the Fairy Godmother and Rumpelstiltskin naturally makes him more prepared for a fight. Sully has had his own adventures too, but they simply don't give him the same fighting experience or tactical experience that Shrek has built up over time. So Shrek obviously has a good number of edges in this fight, but now let's take a closer look at what Sully brings to the table. The big things that Sully has that Shrek has nothing comparable to are his claws and fangs, and while Shrek's overall durability is quite impressive, he has been pierced by sharp weapons before. This means that Sully's claws and fangs could certainly do some damage to him, but even then there's not really any proof to show what they're fully capable of, definitely not enough to prove that they could compensate for Sully's lesser strength. Shrek will still have more force behind every attack, which would take him much further in the long run. Also, Shrek has his gas attacks and they both have powerful roars, putting their versatility levels at around the same mark anyway. Really, the only other thing at this point that Sully could use to his advantage is his overall bigger size, but without superior strength and durability, it's hard to believe that size alone would take him very far. Overall, both of these characters possess considerable strength and durability along with their other traits, but Shrek simply has the better feats and the greater level of experience to prove himself superior. To be blunt, Sully hasn't shown that he'd be able to hold his own for very long in a one-on-one fight situation, while Shrek has demonstrated his wider array of skills on a grander scale. Sully definitely wouldn't be a pushover, but I ultimately feel that Shrek's superior strength, speed, durability, intelligence, fighting ability, and experience would be enough to prove that he really is the most terrifying monster around. So, in my opinion, the winner is Shrek. So guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, you can give this video a like, you can leave a comment, or you could even subscribe to the channel. All of that would be such a great help. If you want to see more Who, When, and Why, you can click the box on the right, or if you want to check out what else is on the channel, you can click the box on the left. But no matter what you do, your view is plenty of contributions, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And next time on Who, When, and Why, we've got Spider-Man going up against Ladybug. See you all then.